customer success differences between like regular people and gaming folks, e-commerce or B2B folks? What are the key things like velocity of feedback, toxicity, retention?
The way you have to look at is the heuristics of your customer. And the heuristics of a gaming customer is so much different than the heuristics of an e-commerce customer, a SaaS customer for, Microsoft or whatnot. In gaming, it's probably the most complex heuristics that you can have. And I'll give you an example of this. So 2% of players in mobile gaming represent 80% of the revenue. The psychology that it takes to spend $500,000 a year on a game as a player, that essentially once the game ends, your whole investment in that game ends, is so much different than the psychology of somebody that's buying crafts online. I remember when I worked for a mobile gaming company and I was the head of service at the time, and I started reaching out to these whales so that I can engage with them, understand them, think through like what their challenges are, how to monetize them. This is before, Officium. So I would give these whales my email address and would contact back and forth. And then one day it was like 4 weeks into the company. So I was answering every mobile phone call that I got. And one day I got a mobile phone call. I didn't know the number, but I picked it up. And on the other side, it says, "Hey, my name is Jace. I'm player X468, whatever, And I was like, and I've been playing the game and I'm loving the game. And so while he's chatting with me, I just pull up my laptop so I could see who it is. It's like, okay, he spent $250,000 in the last year in the game, so I'm definitely going to listen to whatever he has to say. And he's like, "Hey, how do I get past this level? Can you give me like any inside information so that I can win here, do this? Like, can you give me a special op?" Like he was asking for all these things. And so what's interesting is that type of a mentality where you'll call somebody up who has a perception of power to help you, and you're hoping that will help you get ahead. Well, what most people don't realize about that mentality is they're trying to be, the Mike Tyson, the Michael Jordan of that game. That's what their goal is, and they're willing to spend the money to do that. When it's a game of inches, they'll take any inch they can get to outbeat their competitors and to claim online that they're number one in the world at this game. Now, that's a way different mentality than a player in the game that's never spent a dime, that comes in, plays 30 minutes, does all the free stuff, hits the paywall and says, "I'll come back tomorrow." And so those are totally two different demographics. And there's all kinds of demographics in between. So you have like
who don't spend a dime. You want to move them to paying a dime.
Well, you want to move them to that, but you also want to keep them playing the game because you need them to play the game for the 2% to be Michael Jordan. Right. So I think it's interesting to think about it from that perspective. So that demographic, there's like, 8 major personas in gaming, but one of them is that high-end persona demographic. And then the other one is the free demographic. And they're both fine. They're both great people. I'm glad that they're all playing, right? Nothing against any of them. But when you're trying to build a gaming company, you have to focus on the people who spend the money. And so then you focus on the wealth. And so what I would say is if you have a Michael Jordan mentality of somebody that's in the game, like you have to pay attention to that mentality. And sometimes that mentality is unreasonable. And so what you'll find, so the example of this player is I didn't give him anything. I just listened to him. And I said, "Yeah, just reach out to me if you ever want to talk again." And then I just watched his spend in the game after that call, and it grew by 30%. Just because I had a call with him and basically listened to him as if he was important. And so then he calls me like, I don't know, 4 months later, different phone number. And so I didn't know it was him. So I picked up and he's like, "Hey man, like I'm at the hardest level in the game." And I'm looking at the clock and I know he lives in Israel. I'm like, "Dude, should you be asleep?" He's like, "Oh, it's okay, man. I'm on vacation in India, but it's still 2 a.m. here, but it's okay. Everybody's asleep. I don't want my wife to know that I'm trying to do, because she's been getting on to me about this." I was like, "Can you just kind of give me a leg up?" And so again, I just listened to him, gave him nothing. And then he was complaining to me about things in the game, and he was frustrated with it. And I was listening. "Oh, I'll take your feedback. Thank you. I'll bring it to the dev team." And of course, down the path, the dev team rolls out a few things. And so he's like, "Okay, my voice mattered, kind of thing." Right. And so that psychology of like, hey, how do you engage that psychology and keep them playing the game but without giving away too much, right? Will be a different psychology of like, hey, how do I talk to this free player to get them to spend money? And so I think this is why AI is so powerful in gaming now, is because in the old days, that psychology difference was hard to cross that chasm. But now with AI and with one of my companies, Quimby, is I actually have the ability to understand the DNA of every player in the game and then to predict and project what activity the game studio should do to interact with that particular player to get them to do that next step engagement of what you want them to do, right?